Hey, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something a little dangerous, a little real, and honestly, something a lot of people don't want to admit. We're talking about what men, specifically Japanese men, really think when it comes to relationships. You know, Japanese men have a reputation for being quiet, polite, not too direct. They don't often say things bluntly like some Western guys might. They won't just look at their girlfriend and go, "Hey, that's annoying. Stop it." No. They'll say, "Ah, yeah, it's fine," while privately thinking, "Please never do that again." And that's exactly why this topic matters, because many women have no idea that they're doing things that quietly make men pull away. Not because they're evil, not because they're dramatic, but because little behaviors repeated over time become emotional friction. And trust me, quiet men don't argue. Quiet men disappear. So today, let's go through 10 behaviors that make men, especially Japanese men, go, "Wow, she's kind of a handful," even if they never say it out loud. If you catch yourself doing these things, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means it's time to adjust before a good man quietly steps away and never explains why. Let's get into it. You know that person who always has to be the center of attention? The type who can't stand it when the spotlight isn't on them? Conversation, plans, group dynamics. Everything somehow circles back to them. It's like they subconsciously think, why are we talking about somebody else when we could be talking about me? Men notice that. And they don't find it cute. In fact, they find it exhausting. They won't fight you about it. They won't tell you to calm down. They'll just mentally log it as she's a lot to handle. Japanese men especially are sensitive to group harmony. So when someone keeps pulling attention toward themselves, it creates subtle tension. You don't have to be quiet or humble, but if you always need to be validated, praised, or admired, he won't see you as radiant. He'll see you as emotionally hungry. And emotionally hungry people drain others. Sometimes the most attractive woman in the room is the one who listens, smiles knowingly, and makes others feel comfortable, not the one constantly trying to shine. Men remember that. Men respect that. There's a big difference between giving love and overserving because you're afraid of losing love. Some women fall into this pattern. They cook, they clean, they organize, they plan, they chase, they do everything for him and expect it to be seen as love. But men don't always experience it that way. When you keep serving a man like a personal assistant, two things can happen. First, he stops appreciating it. It becomes normal. He doesn't see it as love anymore, just routine. Second, he starts feeling smothered, like he can't breathe without you adjusting his collar, asking if he's eaten, reminding him of everything like a mother hen. And no man wants to date someone who feels like his mom. Generosity is beautiful, but generosity driven by fear becomes suffocating. Instead of always giving, try letting moments breathe. Let him initiate. Let him contribute. Love isn't proven by how much you do, it's proven by how well you balance closeness and space. You know what's really tricky? When someone says, "I don't have self-confidence," and expects to be comforted forever. Low self-esteem might make someone appear humble, but in reality, constant self-deprecation becomes emotional maintenance. If you keep saying things like, "I'm not good enough," "You probably don't like me anyway," or "Someone like me doesn't deserve happiness," guess what happens? At first, he'll reassure you. He'll say, "Hey, that's not true. You're wonderful." But over time, he will get tired. Constantly dealing with someone's insecurity feels like walking through emotional quicksand. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about owning your space without begging for reassurance. Men aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to emotional stability. If you keep shrinking yourself, eventually he'll stop trying to lift you. Not because he's cruel, but because he's exhausted. Some women believe that giving advice equals showing care. You should do it like this. That's not efficient. Here's what you need to change. But let me tell you something important. Men, especially Japanese men, absolutely hate unsolicited advice from their girlfriend. Why? Because advice, especially delivered with a slightly superior tone, feels like judgment. When a woman says, "Let me tell you the right way," what he hears is, "You're not capable." And guess what men value deeply? Competence. Even if your advice is correct, giving it at the wrong time, in the wrong tone, makes you sound like a critic, not a partner. If he wants advice, he'll ask for it. And if he doesn't ask, maybe he just needs space to figure it out himself. Feeling trusted is more powerful than being given instructions. You've probably met someone who responds to new ideas with, "No, that's not right," or "that won't work," before even considering it. Always correcting, always adjusting, always improving, without realizing that every correction is a small rejection. Men don't always want logic, they want connection. And when every idea, every joke, every thought is met with correction, they stop sharing. They retreat. Sometimes love isn't about being right, it's about being warm. You don't lose intelligence by letting someone speak without correcting them. In fact, you gain intimacy. Peace in a relationship is not built by winning arguments, but by choosing which ones don't need to happen. Staying true to your values is strong, but refusing to bend, even slightly, turns strength into stubbornness. If every conversation becomes a battle of my way versus your way, he'll stop feeling like he's with you and start feeling like he's up against you. You can be a woman with opinions while still being flexible. Flexibility doesn't weaken you, it makes you graceful. Japanese men especially value women who can lead sometimes and flow sometimes. It's not a game of dominance, it's a dance. And in a dance, sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow, but you always move together. Learn that rhythm, and you'll never feel too much for someone. High pride might look classy on the outside, stylish, confident, maybe even elegant. But too much pride turns into this aura of, I deserve to be treated like royalty. The moment a man feels like he has to perform around you constantly, like he must always impress, always pay, always entertain, you stop being a partner and start being a job. Men don't mind treating you well. In fact, they enjoy it. But if gratitude disappears and entitlement takes over, something inside him begins to shut down. You don't need to act humble to be lovable. You just need to show appreciation. A simple thank you, a warm smile, a sense of genuine delight. That's what makes a man want to give more. Arrogance pushes love away. Soft joy pulls it closer. A lot of women hold back their real feelings because they don't want to start a fight or be seen as too much. So they swallow their discomfort, say, "It's fine," over and over, and then suddenly explode months later. Men get confused. Where did that come from? I thought everything was fine. Suppressing your truth doesn't make you easier to love. It makes you unpredictable. Men don't avoid honesty. They avoid emotional bombs they never saw coming. Speak clearly, not dramatically. Say what you feel while it's still small. If something bothers you, express it kindly, early, and with calm energy. That creates trust. Holding it inside in the name of being easygoing is fake harmony. Real harmony includes honest expression without fear. Wanting to know everything about the person you love is human. Checking his updates, asking about his day, knowing what he's into, that's all natural. But there's a fine line between interest and surveillance. Where are you? Who are you with? You didn't like any posts today. Are you upset? Why didn't you respond to that comment? Suddenly, love feels like being monitored. That suffocating energy makes men step back, not because they don't love you, but because they need space to breathe. Trust isn't about knowing everything. It's about feeling safe, even when you don't know everything. Mystery keeps attraction alive, not secrecy, but healthy space. If you leave room for him to exist as his own person, he will choose to come closer on his own. This is a big one. Some women panic when communication slows down. If he doesn't reply for a few hours, anxiety kicks in. If he seems distracted, fear rises. And then come the messages. 1, 2, 3. Then why aren't you replying? What are you doing? You have time to scroll but not reply to me? Men don't always live on their phone emotionally the way some women do. Silence doesn't always mean disinterest. Sometimes silence is just silence. If a man feels guilty every time he doesn't respond instantly, talking to you becomes work, not joy. He stops messaging because every message feels like an obligation instead of an easy connection. The secret to good communication isn't frequency. It's quality plus freedom. When a man feels free, he willingly reaches out more. When he feels pressured, he disappears. If you recognized yourself in some of these points, don't panic. Awareness alone is powerful. People aren't driven away by flaws. They're driven away by lack of reflection. Relationships don't collapse because of one dramatic moment. They fade because of tiny emotional tensions that were never acknowledged. So if you want to be loved deeply, don't aim to be a perfect partner. Aim to be a self-aware one. Someone who knows when to give, when to step back, when to speak, and when to simply let love breathe. A woman who radiates self-awareness is never seen as too much. She's seen as rare, refreshing, and unforgettable. このまで